I, 34F, was married to Eric, 36M, for 8 years before our divorce last year. We met during our junior year of college at a mutual friend's party. I remember being drawn to his charismatic personality and infectious laugh. We started dating a few months later and things moved quickly from there. Eric came from a tight-knit family that seemed picture-perfect from the outside. His older sister Vanessa, 39F, and I hit it off right away, bonding over our shared love of true crime podcasts and hiking. Vanessa was married to Nathan, 41M, and they had 2 kids, a 7-year-old girl and a 4-year-old boy. Eric's parents, especially his mom Karen, 62F, welcomed me with open arms and treated me like the daughter they never had. After graduating college, Eric and I both landed jobs at the same tech startup. We loved the excitement of working for a young company, and our shared career goals brought us even closer. We got married in a small ceremony in Eric's parents' backyard, surrounded by family and close friends. The first few years of our marriage were wonderful. We traveled, advanced in our careers, and started talking about having kids of our own. Things started to change about 3 years ago. The startup we worked for was acquired by a larger company, resulting in a lot of changes. Eric was promoted to a management position, which meant longer hours and more stress. At first, I was proud of his success and tried to be supportive, even when he'd come home late or have to work weekends. Around that time, Eric's behavior started to shift. He became very protective of his phone, often taking calls in another room or texting at odd hours. When I asked about it, he'd brush it off as work stress. He also started going out more with his work friends, but was vague about who he was meeting or where they were going. I tried not to let my imagination run wild, but doubts started creeping in. Eric and I had always been so close, and suddenly it felt like there was this growing distance between us. I suggested couples counseling, thinking maybe we just needed help reconnecting. Eric reluctantly agreed, but after a few sessions, he said it wasn't helping and didn't want to continue. During this time, I threw myself into my own work and hobbies as a distraction. I started training for a marathon, spending hours running to clear my head. I also took on more responsibilities at work, earning a promotion to project manager. Despite these personal accomplishments, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off in my marriage. Things came to a head about 2 years ago. I had taken a half day at work, wanting to surprise Eric with tickets to a concert he'd been talking about. When I got home, I heard noises coming from our home office. I slowly pushed open the door to find Eric in a compromising position with a woman I'd never seen before. The next few hours were a blur of tears and shouting. Eric confessed he had been having an affair for the past 8 months with a coworker named Ashley, 28F. He swore it didn't mean anything and begged me to forgive him. I was too hurt and angry to even process what he was saying. I grabbed some clothes and went to stay with my sister. Over the next few weeks, Eric's family reached out constantly trying to convince me to work things out with him. His mother Karen was especially persistent, showing up at my workplace and even cornering me at the grocery store to plead Eric's case. She kept saying things like marriage takes work and everyone makes mistakes. I felt overwhelmed and pressured by their interference. When I finally agreed to meet with Eric to talk, I was shocked by his attitude. He seemed more concerned about how a divorce would impact his career and family's image than actually being remorseful for betraying me. He talked about how embarrassing it would be to tell people we were splitting up and how disappointed his parents would be. It became crystal clear to me in that moment that reconciliation wasn't an option. I filed for divorce soon after. Eric and his family were furious, calling me selfish and unforgiving. Vanessa, who I had considered one of my closest friends, suddenly turned cold. She spread rumors to our mutual friends that I had been frigid and neglectful, pushing Eric into another woman's arms. I was hurt and bewildered by her betrayal. The only person from Eric's family who stood by me was Nathan. He confided that he had suspicions Eric was cheating but didn't want to get involved without proof. While I was hurt he hadn't said anything earlier, I appreciated his honesty and support during such a difficult time. The divorce process was nasty. Eric tried to paint me as unstable and money-hungry to get a better settlement. He claimed that my obsession with work and running had pushed him to cheat. His family, led by Vanessa, embarked on a smear campaign against me. I lost many friends during that time, people I had considered close for years who suddenly believed I was some kind of gold-digging shrew. I threw myself into my work as a coping mechanism, taking on even more responsibilities at the office. My boss noticed my increased productivity and gave me another promotion, which was a small bright spot during an otherwise dark time. I also started seeing a therapist to work through my trust issues and rebuild my self-esteem. After months of legal back and forth, the divorce was finally finalized 6 months ago. I was able to keep our house and got a fair financial settlement, much to Eric's chagrin. I thought that would be the end of my involvement with Eric and his toxic family. But last month, I got a hysterical call from Karen. Through her sobs, I managed to piece together that Eric had gotten Ashley pregnant and they were now engaged. Karen was beside herself about the scandal this would cause in their social circles. Then, to my utter disbelief, she actually asked me to consider taking Eric back to avoid embarrassment to the family. I was stunned by her selfishness and audacity. This woman, who had once treated me like a daughter, was now only concerned about keeping up appearances. I firmly told her that Eric was no longer my problem and to never contact me again. Then I blocked her number. Since then, I've maintained no contact with Eric's entire family except for Nathan. He's kept me updated on the drama unfolding, though I've asked him not to share too many details. Apparently, Eric and Ashley's hasty engagement has caused a huge rift in the family. Vanessa especially is furious about welcoming the other woman into the family. There's also speculation that Ashley's pregnancy timeline doesn't add up. Nathan overheard a heated argument between Eric and his parents where they accused him of getting Ashley pregnant while he and I were still married. Eric vehemently denied this, but given his history of lying, who knows what the truth is? Part of me feels a twisted sense of vindication that Eric's actions are coming back to bite him. The family that was so quick to blame me for our divorce is now dealing with the real consequences of Eric's behavior. But mostly, I just feel relieved to be away from all the toxicity. I'm focused now on healing and moving forward with my life. I've continued with my marathon training, finding it to be great therapy. I recently completed my first full marathon, which was an incredibly empowering experience. I've also joined a support group for divorcees where I've made some wonderful new friends who understand what I've been through. Recently, I've started seeing someone new. We met at a local running club and hit it off immediately. It's still very early days, but for the first time in a long time, I'm excited about the possibility of a healthy relationship. I'm taking things slow and being cautious with my heart, but I'm hopeful for what the future might hold. Looking back, I can see now that ending my marriage was the best decision I could have made. As painful as the process was, it freed me from a relationship built on lies and a family that valued appearances over honesty. I'm proud of myself for having the strength to walk away and start over. Whatever challenges come next, I know I have the resilience to face them. Update 1. It's been about a month since my last post and unfortunately, the drama with my ex and his family has continued to unfold. I really hoped I was done with all of it, but some new information has come to light that I felt I needed to share. A couple of weeks ago, I was at my usual Saturday morning running group when I spotted Ashley stretching nearby. My heart started racing and I quickly tried to turn away, but she called out my name. To my shock, she apologized profusely for the affair and begged me to hear her out. Against my better judgment, I agreed to get coffee with her after our run. We met at a small cafe near the park. Ashley looked nervous and kept fidgeting with her cup as she started talking. What she told me turned my world upside down. Apparently, she and Eric didn't just start their affair 8 months before I caught them, it had actually been going on for over 3 years. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. 3 years. That meant Eric had been cheating on me for most of our marriage. All those times I had doubted myself or felt guilty for being paranoid about his late nights at the office. I had been right all along. But the revelations didn't stop there. Ashley went on to tell me that Eric's sister Vanessa had known about the affair the entire time. Not only that, but she had actively helped cover for them on multiple occasions. She would lie to me about Eric's whereabouts or create fake work emergencies to explain his absences. I was absolutely floored. Vanessa, who I had considered one of my closest friends, had been betraying me for years. It made me furious to think back on all the times she had comforted me when I expressed doubts about Eric's fidelity. All the while, she knew exactly what was going on. Ashley explained that she had only recently found out about Vanessa's involvement. Apparently, Vanessa had caught them together early in the affair. Instead of telling me or confronting Eric, she agreed to keep it secret to protect the family. Ashley said this revelation, along with finding out she was pregnant, made her realize how toxic Eric and his family were. She went on to tell me that she had broken things off with Eric and moved back home to be with her parents. The pregnancy had been unplanned and she was still deciding what to do. She apologized again for her role in hurting me and said she hoped that by telling me the truth, she could begin to make amends. I left that coffee meeting in a complete daze. My mind was reeling from everything I had learned. Part of me wanted to confront Vanessa and the rest of Eric's family about their deception. But another part just wanted to wash my hands of all of them for good. For the next few days, I went back and forth on what to do with this information. I barely slept, replaying conversations and events from the past few years, seeing them in a whole new light with the knowledge I now had. After much deliberation, I decided to reach out to Nathan. Regardless of my feelings towards Vanessa, I felt he deserved to know the truth about his wife's involvement in Eric's affair. We met for coffee and I told him everything Ashley had revealed. Nathan was devastated. He had no idea Vanessa had kept such a huge secret from him for years. He kept shaking his head, muttering that he couldn't believe it. At one point, he broke down crying, saying he felt like his entire marriage had been built on lies. I felt terrible for potentially blowing up another relationship, but I truly believe Nathan deserved to know the truth. He thanked me for being honest with him and said he needed time to figure out what this meant for his marriage. Since then, I've heard through mutual friends that Nathan moved out and is staying with a buddy from work. Vanessa has been frantically trying to contact me, leaving angry voicemails accusing me of trying to ruin her marriage out of spite. I've blocked her number and all her social media accounts. Eric has also tried reaching out multiple times. His messages alternate between apologizing for everything and accusing me of meddling in his family's business. I haven't responded to any of them. As far as I'm concerned, his actions and lies caused all of this, not me simply telling the truth. I'm still processing all of this new information and what it means. I'm angry all over again at the level of deception from people I once considered family. It's brought up a lot of emotions I thought I had already worked through about the end of my marriage. But I'm also trying not to let their drama consume me. I've worked hard over the past year to rebuild my life and I don't want to lose that progress. I've been leaning on my support system, my therapist, my divorce support group, and my close friends. They've all been incredibly understanding and helpful as I navigate these new revelations. I have a date this weekend with a guy from my running club. I was tempted to cancel in light of everything going on, but I decided I didn't want to let Eric and his family's mess overshadow my chance at happiness. I'm determined to keep moving forward, regardless of what new drama might unfold. In the meantime, I'm channeling my energy into positive outlets. I've signed up for another marathon, this time to raise money for a local women's shelter. Training gives me a healthy way to process my emotions and the fundraising aspect helps me feel like I'm turning this negative experience into something positive. I know there may be more twists and turns ahead as this situation continues to unfold. But I'm committed to staying true to myself and not getting pulled back into the toxic dynamics of my former marriage and in-laws. Whatever happens next, I know I have the strength to handle it. Update 2. It's been about 2 months since my last update and I wish I could say things have calmed down, but that's unfortunately not the case. The situation with my ex and his family has continued to spiral in ways I never could have imagined. A few weeks ago, I got a call from Nathan. He was clearly upset and asked if we could meet in person to talk. We agreed to meet at a local park, figuring a public place would be best given everything going on. When I saw Nathan, I was shocked by his appearance. He looked like he hadn't slept in days, with dark circles under his eyes and rumpled clothes. As soon as we sat down on a bench, he dropped a bombshell. After confronting Vanessa about her role in covering up Eric's affair, she had confessed to her own infidelity. Apparently, Vanessa had been having an on and off affair with Eric's best friend Mark, 40M, for the past 5 years. Nathan was understandably devastated. He said he felt like his entire world had been turned upside down. But the revelations didn't stop there. Nathan went on to tell me that after Vanessa's confession, he had started to question everything. He decided to do a paternity test and discovered that their younger child, the 4-year-old boy, was actually Mark's biological son. I was absolutely stunned. The level of deception in Eric's family seemed never-ending. I couldn't believe Vanessa had the audacity to judge me for divorcing Eric when she had been cheating herself for years. Nathan thanked me again for being honest with him about what Ashley had told me. He said it gave him the push he needed to really question Vanessa and their marriage. He told me he had filed for divorce and was fighting for custody of both children, including the son that wasn't biologically his. I tried my best to comfort Nathan, but I was reeling from all this new information myself. I felt terrible for the pain he was going through and for the innocent children caught in the middle of all this mess. A few days after meeting with Nathan, I got a hysterical call from Karen, my former mother-in-law. She was sobbing, saying that everything was falling apart and begging me to help fix things. Apparently, the news of Vanessa's affair and the paternity revelation had gotten out to the extended family. Karen was distraught about the family's reputation being ruined. She kept saying things like, "What will people think? And how will we ever show our faces at church again?" I was furious that Karen seemed more concerned about appearances than the pain her children had caused. I told her in no uncertain terms that none of this was my problem to fix. I suggested that maybe she should focus on why both her children turned out to be serial cheaters instead of worrying about gossip. Then I hung up and blocked her number. Since then, I've heard through mutual friends that things have gotten even messier. Mark's wife found out about his affair with Vanessa and has also filed for divorce. Eric is apparently furious at Vanessa for destroying the family with her affair, completely ignoring his own role in everything. There are ugly fights happening over child custody and assets in both divorces. The once close-knit family is now completely fractured, with everyone taking sides and slinging accusations. As for me, I'm doing my best to stay out of all of it. I've blocked numbers and social media for Eric's entire family except Nathan. He and I still talk occasionally as he works through everything, but I've made it clear I can't be his main support system. I'm focused on my own healing and future. The guy I've been seeing from my running club asked me to be exclusive last week and things are going really well. We're taking things slow, but for the first time in a long time, I'm excited about what the future might hold. This whole situation has been a stark reminder of why I'm better off without Eric and his family in my life. While I never wished this level of pain and drama on anyone, I can't help but feel that karma has finally caught up with them all. Update 3. It's been about 6 months since my last update and I'm happy to say that things have finally started to settle down. I haven't had any direct contact with Eric or his family in months, but I've heard bits and pieces through Nathan and mutual acquaintances. The divorces between Nathan and Vanessa, as well as Mark and his wife, have been finalized. There was a lot of ugliness around custody arrangements and asset division, but it seems like things are finally resolved legally at least. Nathan got primary custody of both kids, including the son that isn't biologically his. He told me he couldn't imagine not being a father to the boy he's raised for 4 years, regardless of DNA. I have a lot of respect for Nathan and how he's handled this whole situation. Eric and Ashley's relationship imploded spectacularly. Apparently, Eric had been lying to Ashley about ending things with me and starting divorce proceedings long before I actually caught them together. When Ashley found out the extent of his deception, she left him for good. Their baby was born a few months ago and Ashley has full custody. Eric is apparently fighting for visitation rights, but Ashley is reluctant given his history of lying. I ran into Karen at the grocery store last week. It was incredibly awkward, but she actually apologized for how she had treated me during and after the divorce. She said going through everything with Vanessa had opened her eyes to how unfairly she had judged me for leaving Eric. I appreciated the apology but made it clear I wasn't interested in rekindling any kind of relationship. As for me, I'm doing really well. My boyfriend and I recently moved in together and things are great. I've continued with my running, completing 2 more marathons in the past 6 months. I've also started volunteering at a local women's shelter, which has been incredibly rewarding. I've done a lot of healing work and therapy and feel like I've finally put the whole mess with Eric behind me. I'm grateful for the life lessons I've learned through all of this, as painful as they were at the time. I've grown so much as a person and have a much clearer sense of my own worth and what I deserve in a relationship. I'm sharing this final update mostly for closure. I don't anticipate having any more involvement or updates about Eric and his family's drama. I'm looking forward to the next chapter of my life and focusing on my own happiness. Thank you to everyone who offered support and advice throughout this crazy journey. Here's to new beginnings and leaving toxic relationships in the past.